Hey gamers, welcome back to Square One Games. My name is XONEVANT, and this is the long-awaited behind-the-scenes look at what I do here on YouTube. What is SOG? I know a lot of you guys have been wanting to kind of see something like this since the beginning of the channel, because a lot of you guys are always commenting on the graphics and the hubs and, you know, how do I do things on YouTube. Well, this is it, man. Up in your face. We're going to be taking you guys through this over the next couple of days. I'm not sure how long this is going to last. It may last 3 days. It may go up to 5 days. But it'll be kind of the tell-all of how I do things and the process and that I get things on YouTube, etc. And then over the summer, I'm going to be launching a new show that won't necessarily be a part of the Daily Dose. It'll be its own individual show, and we're gonna actually do tutorial-based things like, you know, we might design a logo from one of our favorite games. I might show you how to do that in After Effects or Photoshop or whatever. I might show you how to edit a little montage. I might show you how to add some effects to your videos. So it's gonna be pretty cool, and that's gonna launch sometime over the summer. I don't have a specific date for you yet, but this is kind of the prelude to that, and will kind of give you a basis of where I get started with all of the stuff that I do here on YouTube. So the first thing I want to show you is kind of my setup, if you will. I like to keep a very clean desktop. When you're dealing with a lot of graphics and a lot of images, and sometimes the images are named the same thing, like you might have like a logo from like a, you know, a video game. You don't want to have like a logo here and a logo here and a logo here. You've probably seen some desktops that are just full of stuff, and if that's how you like to work, go for it, man. But for me, I like to keep it clean. I also love a lot of graphics, so I have my Final Fantasy VII theme rolling back here. A lot of you guys know, if you watched the first episode of Get to Know Me, I'll put a link right there. You'll know that that is one of my favorite games of all time. So I got that going on in the background for a little bit of inspiration, and oh, I love that. That's so amazing. But let's go ahead and talk a little bit about my what I got going on my desktop right here. So obviously this over here is actually what I'm recording right now as we speak. So that's what this file is over here. I have my sound recorder going on here, which is what I use to record my voice. So that's actually capturing me right now. So those two things are kind of in sync. And then I have my recycling bin, which is always full, because I really, even though I discard things from main folders, sometimes it's hard for me to discard things permanently, because I'm always like, man, I might need that, you know, at a later date. So I'm a little bit, you know, a little bit crazy about keeping folders. But every time I do like a brand new game, I'll delete everything. So it's kind of from game to game that I'll add and delete things to the recycling bin. But I have plenty of hard drive space on my computer, so it's no worries there. I have a miscellaneous folder right here, which is typically stuff that I think most people would put on their desktop. But I just typically just throw it all in a folder and call it miscellaneous. And then I obviously have my little toolbar down here, my taskbar down here. This is my hard drive. I have a 2 terabyte external hard drive, and I think my PC has about 400 gig of hard drive space. So I have tons of hard drive space. But believe it or not, like if I go to my C drive, let me go to my computer. My D drive is actually almost full, if you can believe it or not, and my local is almost full. But once I delete all my recycling bin, that'll go pretty much full again. And then I do need to go back through and delete some stuff in here that I'm not currently using. But you can see it takes up a lot of space. So if you're planning on doing YouTube, make sure you have a PC or at least an external hard drive with a lot of space, especially if you're going to be doing a lot of videos. I have a fonts folder, which is pretty huge. I add to it typically daily. I'll go on to random, you know, websites like thefonts.com or whatever, and look for fonts that are from video games and stuff like that, so I can use these to help build my graphics. So that's that. Then I have the Square One Games official folder. I'm working on a YouTube background right now. I think as of the time you're going to be watching this video, you haven't seen the new background yet, but that's that. My fonts. Then I have my games. These are the games I covered in 2012. Remember, I think I just covered Medal of Honor at the end of last year. These are all the templates and stuff that I used. And then I also have an editing folder, which I have my ready for conversion folder. These are all the files that needed to be converted, and I'll explain all this later. These are my ready for Vegas. These are all the ones that needed to be edited, and these are all the ones that I actually ended up putting up on YouTube. Now some of these don't look like other ones, because I was having issue with YouTube not uploading my videos because the titles were too long. So I just started giving them like generic names. But typically I like to have them all nice and neat like this, so that I can just scroll through and see exactly what I've uploaded and not uploaded. So it's pretty neat. So that's kind of an idea about my file setup, and of course I'll be going through all this in detail as we progress. I also have my Cube 2013 folder. This is actually where I get my intro from. So this is all the footage that it takes to produce the intro to my videos. There's a couple little things there, and then I have a catch-all, have my images and titles, music and sound effects, my video wall. This is what you see when you see the intro of one of my videos. These are all the images that you see flash across the screen, and then any videos that I'm putting in there as well. So pretty neat. I try to keep everything nice, neat, and organized. So that's kind of an idea about my file system. Let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the overall programs that I use. I use 4 major programs to do what I do. From conception, to the end of the day, it's all about these 4 programs. And if I have these 4 programs or something that's like these 4 programs, then I'm able to produce the show. Actually 5 programs when you count my sound recorder, I guess. But 4 major programs. The first one is your capture card. Obviously, if you're going to be capturing gameplay footage, capture card is probably the best way to go. There's a ton of them out there. I think everybody's moving now to the Roxio or the Elgato. I still have the AverMedia HD PVR, which I bought. Everything you've ever seen on my channel has been from the AverMedia HD PVR. To me, they're all about the same. I guess some of them may give like a crisper image, but I usually make my image crisper anyway using another program. It just takes a little bit more time, I guess. So it really just depends on what you want. You're gonna spend probably between $150 to $220 depending on which style you get. I think mine was $179 on Amazon or eBay, and I got it brand new, so it wasn't used or anything. It's gonna come with, after you install it, it's gonna come with, probably gonna come with ArcSoft Total Media Extreme, which is I think what most capture cards use. Now this particular capture card doesn't have the ability to like edit footage or anything, but I think some of the newer ones like the Elgato or the Roxio do have the ability to edit footage, and they also come HDMI. And I'm not actually using HDMI to record now. I just use the cables. But I just basically just go to record video, and everything loads in. Now you're going to see a blue screen right here. That's because I don't have my Xbox or PS3 turned on. But if I did, you would see obviously whatever was on the screen coming from my TV. Anytime you don't see an image, you can always hit refresh, and that typically will refresh your image and sometimes will solve your problem. If not, it may be your cables or cords. You can see here that you can do composite S video or the YPB PR, which is what I use to capture my footage. Now on some of your newer capture cards, you're probably going to see HDMI somewhere in here, and now it may not look like this either if you have a different capture card, so I apologize, but it should be something very similar to this. I usually run on a variable bit rate instead of a constant bit rate, and I'm not going to get too much into that, but that's typically what I do. And then I'll probably shoot my bit rate up to at least over 10,000 when I'm recording, so that keeps everything nice and smooth. MPEG 112 is a standard audio format. That's what I like to keep mine on. And then my audio bit rate, I just shove it up to as high as it can possibly go. So there it is, 384 kbps. And I always capture on a volume that's around 19 or 20, because I want the volume coming from my video to be extremely loud, and that way I can edit it in my editing program. I would rather capture it very loud than capture it soft, because if it's loud I can always turn it down, but if it's soft and you turn it up, you tend to get a little bit of air inside of your recording, and to me it's not a very good quality audio recording. So that's kind of what I do there, is keep it high. I keep both of these always checked. I like to see what I'm looking at while I'm recording it, so I enable the preview on recording. There is like a slight delay. I don't know if this is gonna happen if you have like an Elgato or a Roxio, but there is a slight delay when you capture things. But I do like to see it, because there has been times where I've been capturing, or I've been thinking that I'm capturing a video, and I'll do like a 10-minute video or whatever, and then I'll come out and it'll just be like a blue screen like this. So I like to be able to see what I'm looking at, even if it's on a delay. And then I always turn on hardware acceleration because I want my PC to be running as smooth as possible so that I can make sure that there's no hiccups. Sometimes your capture card will just die. Like it'll just, you know, kind of just stop working. And I find that if I have this checked, it tends to go a whole lot smoother. And then this is obviously where you can create your output file for whatever you are filming. I just finished filming some Black Ops 2 footage for some stuff I'm going to be doing on the Daily Dose sometime next week or the following week. So I have that folder. And then, you know, if I want to do some Battlefield, I just click OK. I have all my folders already set up. And when you're ready to go, you just hit capture. It'll start your capture, and then you hit stop. It'll stop your capture. And then you have your save format, which is usually going to be like a .ts file. And a .ts file is a really hard file to work with. Most editing suites don't even take .ts files. So what you have to do is go to program number 2, which is some kind of converting program. You can use Handbrake. I use AVS Video Converter 7.1. That's what I use. You have a ton of different options you can choose from. I just use the one that says console. And you can see here that I've already got one loaded. I'm just going to minus it out for now so we can start from scratch. And I'm going to go ahead and click browse. And basically you're just putting in there whichever file you want to be converted. So let's say I wanted to convert, you know, my Far Cry 3 folder, file number 30 video. It's a .ts right now. The size of this file is 4.63 gig. Now this is like a 47-minute file. So, you know, it's a big file, so obviously it's going to be big in terms of its how many gig it is. But when you open it and it loads in, you can also pick which folder you want it to output to. And you can see that I've already actually converted it to MP4 and it shrunk it down to 1.13 gig, which is a whole lot easier to work with, and it's an acceptable format for my editing software to take. Sony Vegas 11, to my knowledge, does not take TS files. I think there are some versions of Sony Vegas that may, but the one I'm using, I can never get mine to load in, so I just convert them anyway. Plus I like the smaller file size. But once you set up which file folder you want it to go to, you just click convert and it'll convert it. Now right now my profile says that I'm only going to be getting 480 by 272. Obviously when I recorded the file, I recorded it in 720 HD, but if I convert it right now, it's going to convert it to a file that's only 480 by 272. So you can scroll down and you can set it up to be, you know, 1280 by 720, 1920 by 1080. I usually go with just 720 because I feel like most people don't ever click on 1080, and if you do, I find that most computers, especially if you have like a laptop and it's not a very good one, will slow frame rates down and stuff like that. So I just keep mine at 720, and then you would just hit convert and it would convert your file. You can also put multiple files in here by clicking the plus button. So maybe you say, well, you know, I thought that file 30 was going to be its own video, but I think I can probably put file 29 and 30 together and make one video. You can add that in there. You can see that it's in backwards order, so you can just go to 29, click the up button. Now you have 29 and 30, because when you hit convert, it's going to convert them as one file in the order that they are in this input file name section. So you'd want to go 28, 29, 30, 27, 28, 29, 30, right? If you want to keep it in order. And that's typically all I do, is I convert my file. My PC is pretty fast, so a 47-minute file would probably take me about 25 minutes to convert. Now on my old laptop, it took hours to convert. So if you're planning on getting into YouTube, or maybe you're in YouTube now and you're looking for, you know, faster render times, you're probably gonna have to spend some coin and get you a pretty big PC, something that can really handle these files, especially if you plan on uploading every day, because it's going to be a pretty lengthy process. And not to mention, if you render something out and it's not correct and you have to re-render it again, it could take 6 to 8 hours to get a file up sometime if you have mistakes. So just keep that in mind. That's that. I'm not going to spend too much time on these next two programs in this episode because we're running long right now. But it's After Effects and Sony Vegas 11. After Effects is a program that I use to do all my graphics. Now I know that if you've never seen After Effects, this looks very strange to you and probably is a little bit overwhelming. But I'm going to be doing some in-depth tutorial on this over the next couple of days. I'm probably going to spend a whole episode or two just talking about graphics. And then obviously over the summer, we're going to break this whole entire program down. I'm going to do like a tutorial on, you know, what everything is, kind of like you know, an After Effects for dummies, I guess, if you will, because that's kind of what I did when I started learning how to use this program. I went on a lot of forums and stuff like that and learned on my own. I have no formal training in this program, but I do know a lot about it, at least enough to do what I do for YouTube. So I'm going to be explaining all the panels and, you know, all the different menus and all that stuff. And we'll do a couple of tutorials where I might show you how to make gradients and flares and do different camera angles and stuff like that. And then as we progress, we'll get into some of the higher end projects like making logos and stuff like that. So it should be pretty fun. The last program I use is Sony Vegas 11. That's what I use. Now you can use any editing program that you want. It really doesn't matter. I think the first probably 350 videos that you see on my channel were all from Corel Video Studio 3, which is actually a program I bought for like, I think it was 60 or 70 bucks off the Corel Studio site. So you don't have to have anything fancy to do this type of work, but most computers nowadays have video programs on them that you can use, and you don't have to have anything fancy, right? I just prefer this one because it works really well with QuickTime videos, which is what I render all my stuff out in here, and I just like the way that it's laid out, really. The Corel Video Studio 3.0 was laid out okay, but I couldn't get as many timelines as I wanted. I couldn't really control, you know, how the layout of the screen was as much as I wanted to. I like to be able to customize, so that's why I like this particular program. But you can use like Adobe Premiere, any of those programs would work. And then all the files that you see here that I'm clicking on now that are highlighting are files that I render out in After Effects. All these different things right here are their own little files. And what I do is I render them out like basically puzzle pieces, I guess. I render them all out, and then I come over here and I put all the puzzle pieces back together and get my work done. And then when I'm finished, I just highlight what I want to render and come up here, click the render button, and once the file is rendered, I take it on over to good old YouTube. There's my Facebook and my Twitter, just because I want to be able to make sure I'm answering all my comments and everything. But basically I just go in and I upload my video and I'm good to go. You know, I tag it, annotate it, and I'm going to be walking you guys through all of that. Like I said, I'm going to be showing you from start to finish. We're actually going to come into After Effects, do graphics, come into here, you know, render it out. We're going to upload it, we're going to tag it, we're going to, you know, put in the descriptions, all that stuff. It's going to be pretty cool. So just stay tuned over the next like I said, I don't know how many days we're going to spend on this, but I think this is something that everybody's been looking forward to, and so have I. And you'll get to see a behind the scenes look at you know, what happens at Square One Games and how to make one of the episodes for the Daily Dose. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video, and I will see you tomorrow. You guys be good.